I have a dream, that's all I need. I'll make it happen with some work and belief. Know what I want, so I'll take it on. I've made mistakes, but mistakes make you strong.
Hi, I'm JB.
The poor get poorer.
The rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer.
Are the rich getting richer? Yeah, the short answer is yes. The long answer is we're all getting richer. At least those who want to. There's a reason for everything. Contrary to what some politicians say, this is not a zero-sum game. It's actually possible to invent new stuff and find new ways of making money. The uncomfortable truth is that it's actually a lot simpler than you think. In this video, I will address the issues and give my take on how you can become rich and, maybe even more important, stay rich. Heck, poor Americans today are rich compared to people in many developing nations. People can rise out of poverty, but they can also fall out of prosperity. Oh, by the way, I wish the discussion about equity and unfairness also mentioned heights and looks. There's fairly solid evidence that taller people and better looking people earn more money, and they also have better lives. So, we need to tax them too. Shit. Good thing I'm not that good looking then, huh? But seriously, I wish people understood that poor people aren't, generally speaking, poor simply because rich people are rich. Generally speaking, the poor are poor because of their choices, their mindset, and how they operate. But more on that later. Let's start by debunking some of those myths the mainstream media keep perpetuating about rich people. 1. The rich are rich because they inherit from their rich family. Wrong. If we look at the Forbes 400 list, it's a list of the 400 wealthiest people in America. The vast majority made their billions and millions either by building successful companies or by investing. Those are people like Jeff Bezos, Larry Ellison, Warren Buffett, Larry Page, Bill Gates, Sergey Brin, Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Ballmer, Michael Bloomberg, Michael Dell, and so on. All people who built something and really believed in it. Yes, there are a few that had gotten the company through inheritance, but the company wasn't made from nothing. Someone in their family still built it at some point. Around 24% of the Forbes 400 made their wealth through investing. 17.25% made internet-related companies or tech companies. Around 10% started food and beverage companies. 8.5% started with real estate. About 7% got rich with media and entertainment businesses. 6% got rich by creating energy companies. 4% started service companies. 3.5% got rich doing sports, also people we see a lot in the media. And 3% by normal manufacturing. So actually, no matter what venture you go into, you can become rich. Looking at millionaires, it gets even simpler. 79% of US millionaires did not receive inheritance from their parents or other family members. The majority really did the work for their wealth. And they made their wealth work for them. They didn't wait for a rich uncle to come riding in on a horse with $1 million check. They rolled up their sleeves, got to work. That means the average person really can work hard and win in the money game. Myth number 2. The rich make risky investments and go bankrupt and start all over if something happens. When a large survey company made a survey over 10,000 millionaires for the National Study of Millionaires, they found that almost 80% of them built a huge chunk of their wealth through their employer-sponsored retirement plan. Simple employees just being smart with their money. That's right, the average everyday millionaire doesn't make risky investments. They put their money in investments that have a steady track record of growth over time. When you put all your money in flashy trends like crypto and NFTs, you are likely to lose it just as fast as you got it. Actually, the same goes sometimes for single stocks. Not a single millionaire in the study said investing in single stocks was their top wealth building tool. It was a contributing factor, but it was not the main reason for it. I'm sorry to break it to you, but building wealth the right way is boring, really, really boring, and often also a really slow process. It's not flashy, it's not wild, it's not a roller coaster. Building wealth takes time. especially when you're investing in the right way. Or should I say, a safe way. Myth number 3. The rich know how to time the market. Oh, it's no secret that rich people invest, but one myth is that they have some secret ability to time the stock market. That's just not true. The truth is that trying to time the market is actually a mistake, and this mistake is also made by a lot of wealthy people. None other than the Vanguard founder Jack Bogle is quoted for saying this on market timing. After nearly 50 years in this business, I do not know of anybody who has done it successfully and consistently. I don't even know of anybody who knows anybody who has done it successfully and consistently. Don't spend your time chasing that idea. Myth number 4. The rich are crooks who take from the poor. Oh, really? As so many other things, there will always be bad apples, just like there's a lot of crooked politicians. There are also crooked people who have gotten rich, but it's definitely not the norm. Getting rich doesn't change you, money just enhances what you already had within. Politicians on the left like to say, let's take from the exploiting rich and give it to the poor, not realizing that these entrepreneurs are the ones that made the society, and they don't understand what an entrepreneur has been through and need to go through to become rich. I really like this clip where Ben Shapiro needs to educate a young socialist in how economics and production actually works, and it's not off the backs of poor people.
So let's say you own a pencil factory, I'm a worker in that pencil factory. You can have all the machinery, you can buy all the raw materials you want, but without me, and presumably many others like me, to assemble the pencils, all you would have is a pile of wood, yellow paint, graphite, rubber, and aluminum.
Okay.
That would be worth, and that is worth less than the pencil when you try and sell it. And yet, all of that value added by labor, apart from the wages that you give me,
if all that putting the pencil together requires is basic use of your prefrontal cortex, then yes, your labor is alienable at lower rates than if you are a doctor. That's not the fault of the person who owns the machinery.
The differentiation I draw, and I'm not alone in this, I'm not one person trying to redefine anything, the differentiation I and many others like me draw between socialism and capitalism is that under capitalism, when you as the owner of the factory, you give me a wage. The wage could be $7.25, it could be $15, it could be whatever an hour. Right? But you give me a wage. All the additional profit above made from selling the pencils or whatever good you produce above what is reinvested into the company ultimately goes to you or the investors, those who own shares in the means of production.
Right.
Under socialism, those people are the workers, and the example I give, again, is cooperative enterprise.
No, those are the people who are investing the risk. So if they carry the risk, then they get the benefit. The owner of the factory carries the risk, therefore he gets the benefit. The workers in the company you mentioned, if that company were to go bankrupt, they would carry the risk as well as the benefit. If the company goes bankrupt, and this guy has to pay off all of his debts, the worker may lose his job, but he's not the one who's going to incur the debt of having gone bankrupt. If you incur risk, then you're the one who pays the downside. The worker does not pay the downside. Okay, it is the investor who pays the downside, who invested in all the machinery, who sunk millions of dollars into making your labor productive. Because guess what? Your labor is without that machinery. Gunk. Nothing. You don't have a pencil to put together. You don't got the wood. You don't got the paint. You don't got the rubber. You don't got the metal. You got nothing. Right? You're sitting there, standing outside, twiddling your thumbs. It required somebody to invest. Who do you think put more in? The guy who spent millions of dollars buying all the machinery, leasing the place, making sure there was a management structure, doing the LLC formation, making sure all the tax code was in compliance, or you standing outside because you can stick a piece of graphite into a piece of wood?
The reason why people believe this way is because rich people make more money than them, and people sometimes believe they should be making just as much money as the rich without putting in the effort or the risk. But they haven't really earned it. Rich people typically had to go through lots of obstacles to get where they are. Myth number 5. The rich just got lucky or know somebody, so they get all the breaks. Wrong again. The majority of millionaires in the US didn't start off being somebody or knowing somebody. They actually worked their way up to become a millionaire. And during that process, or should I say after that process, they usually get to know other millionaires, and most never even get to know any millionaires. But with everything else, people with the same interests seem to flock together, and that's also a great way to learn. Surround yourself with smart people who have the same ambitions or better or desires that you have. You will definitely learn faster. Most really rich people started out living on nothing. Just look at Elon and Kimball Musk and their humble beginning in the US. Two guys living in a small office with no kitchen, bath, or anything. They ate the cheapest meals they could find and showered at the Y. They could only afford one computer, so their website was up during the day, and in the night Elon was using it to code. Even if the software they created kept failing, they pushed on, and finally they had a product, and soon they could try to sell it, which eventually they did for $307 million to Compaq back in 1998. So, persistence pays off. Myth number 6. The rich have all the well-paying jobs. Doctors, lawyers. Yeah, you might assume that millionaires are doctors, CEOs, or even bankers or lawyers, but in the National Study of Millionaires, it was found that the top 5 careers were engineers, accountants, teachers, management, and attorneys. So, yes, there was lawyers there. And when it comes to their salaries, 93% of the millionaires gained their wealth by working hard, not because they had big salaries. In fact, 1/3 of the millionaires surveyed never made 6 figures in a single working year in their career. A good example is a doctor or a lawyer. They have studied for a long time and had to put in a lot of effort to get their degree, and then they have to work and fight to land a good job. If not, they will just be another ordinary lawyer or doctor and will have trouble ever paying off their debt. Those few who succeed will have to work a lot of years before they have paid their debt down, and then they will be able to make real money. But remember, they have a short time where they can earn it. Even the best surgeons make around $400,000 to $500,000 a year. At that peak performance level, they can't work as long as simply a normal office worker. Their biggest problem is they usually have a large ego, and then they spend their money on big houses, fancy cars, and showing off that they finally made it. So they don't really get that rich. Rich people are greedy. Oh yes, another popular myth. The rich never stop, they always want more and more and more. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Rich people actually make the greatest financial contributions. Many rich people are philanthropists, making donations to causes they believe in and supporting poorly funded organizations. And while some of these can be beneficial in terms of tax and deductions, greed has far less to do with making these contributions than people think. They're all living like A-list celebrities with fancy cars, houses, and the like. While this might be true for some, it's certainly not true for everyone. The myth about big spending rich people is kind of true. Sure, they have an annual budget that has some zeros more at the end of it than you have, but they still need to watch what they spend. The lesson here is you always need to be mindful of your limits, no matter what those limits are. Actually, many rich people are more frugal than you might think. For instance, Warren Buffett, one of the world's richest men, he still lives in the same home he bought for $31,500 back in 1958, and he buys his breakfast at McDonald's. In reality, many rich people live far less lavishly than the media portrays them to. So why are the rich getting richer? Well, let's take it from the top. Number 1 is their mindset and drive. The rich are usually entrepreneurs, and to be an entrepreneur, you will need to have a mindset and a drive to accomplish your goal. A funny thing is, most don't start out trying to get rich. They start because they have a passion for something and want that thing to succeed. A shop, a manufacturing, something. They want to do something, they want to change the world. I'm not saying I'm like that, but when I started in programming and creating tools for others, I did it so I could get more productive and my fellow workers could get more productive. I created and found solutions so others could become more efficient and do their jobs faster and easier. I also made a stock tracker in Excel because I couldn't find any that lived up to my needs, so I had to make one for myself. That took a long time, and it's probably never going to get 100% finished, but it's ready to be sold on Etsy now. I didn't make this to make money. A lot of other people can benefit from it, just like I do. And my mind is, why should anybody want to spend 2, 3, 4 months doing it when they can buy it for $20? So again, it's a mindset. Here's a clip from Andrew Tate and the mindset of an entrepreneur.
If you were in a room with ice cream experts and all they talked about was ice cream, how to make it, how to store it, how to move it, the different flavors, the size of the cartons it's in, how much it costs to produce, if all they talked about was ice cream and you were in that room, sooner or later when someone comes to you to ask you something about ice cream, you're going to know the answer. Yeah. But you're going to accidentally know some shit about ice cream. If you're in a room of people who only talk about money, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So you need to be around people who are about it. And the problem is with the people out here, everyone has a dream, but not many people have a plan. A dream and a plan are different things. When you say to guys, do you want to be rich? Yeah, I want to be rich. How will you get rich? One day when the shit comes in. So you can have a dream with no plan. When's the last time something fantastic has ever happened on accident? When's the last time you've seen a big jacked dude and you say, hey man, how'd you get so jacked? And he goes, dunno, oops. Dunno, it just happened. No, he planned it. He went to the gym, he ate a certain way, he planned his meals, he had to make it happen. It's exactly the same with getting rich. You need a plan to get rich, right? Most people everyone out there has a dream, but very few people have a plan. Yep. If you're surrounded by people who have a plan to get rich, and you provide value to them in some way, because they're not going to drag you up if you ain't doing nothing, because that's what friendship is. Friendship is value exchange. Yeah. If you provide value to them, sooner or later you're going to begin to make money.
Lesson number 2. Work hard and sacrifice. This is a little like the mindset part. Usually the rich keep working at the problem they want to solve, and they will put in an enormous amount of work and effort. Basically sacrificing everything to achieve their goal. Most people would never quit their safe job to pursue the dream. They wouldn't spend all their life savings on a product or an idea because they would fear failure. Entrepreneurs are willing to take those risks. They're willing to sacrifice basically their whole life for a long, long time because they truly believe that they will emerge in the end. You could call that delayed gratification. And actually, there was a fun test made by the Stanford University called the marshmallow test. They gave a child 2 choices. You can have 1 marshmallow now, or you can wait till I come back, and then you will get 2 marshmallows. It's a funny social experiment, and needless to say, the kids had serious trouble waiting for the teacher to come back. But the kids that actually could wait, they performed a lot better in their adult life, and this experiment can show you that the mindset of the person can determine their future possibilities. It's exactly the same with investing and getting rich. The ones that want to get rich quick will probably not stay rich. The ones who can sacrifice and wait, they will be rewarded in the end. It's also called opportunity cost, and I use that every day. Let's say I see a new iPhone. I would really like to have it. I quickly calculate, what would that iPhone cost me in the future? Let's say the phone cost $1,000. If I instead took those $1,000, invested them for 20 years at a 12% gain, they would become $10,000. So, would you rather have $10,000 or a new iPhone? Well, for me, that's not a question. I want the money. I can clearly make it with the one I have. And I think the way about almost everything. Even a small cup of coffee. Is this really necessary? And what is the opportunity cost? What could these expenses have turned into? That's why I still drive a 15-year-old Toyota, even though I could easily afford a premium car. Lesson number 3. Prioritize financial education. The more you learn, the more you earn. Rich people understand that money is a tool that can be used to create more money, and they learn how to use it wisely. They invest in their financial knowledge by reading books, taking courses, attending seminars, hiring mentors, and learning from other successful people. They constantly update their financial skills and strategies to adapt to changing market conditions and opportunities. The people who are usually poor, on the other hand, often lack basic financial literacy. They don't do budgets, they don't save, and they probably never even invest or manage their debt. So they keep staying in the same bad circle. This all prevents them from making smart financial decisions and build their wealth. Financial education is the foundation of wealth creation. By the way, if you could do me a favor and hit the like button, I would really like that, because it would help me out, and maybe even subscribe so you might get some value from one of my next videos. I have used a simple formula that you probably heard a million times. Step number 1, create a budget and find all the things that are really not necessary. This will help you find cheaper ways of doing things when you realize how much money is lost on the little things. Step number 2, pay off your debt. Although not your mortgage. If you have a car financed, consider if that is necessary, or you could manage with a lesser car, one that you can buy cash. You don't need all those loans and interest payments. Step number 3, build an emergency fund. You should be able to handle at least 6 months of expenses from that fund and never touch it. It's really bad if you have to sell some of your investments at a bad time just because you got some unforeseen expenses. That's where the emergency fund steps in. When you have reached the 3 goals above, then the fun begins. And remember, if you can stay extremely frugal in just a few years, the points above will become real easy and fast. I tried living on simple home-cooked food and not spending money on stuff for a couple of years, and the result was amazing. So, step number 4 is investing. You can start with step number 4 during step number 1, 2, and 3 if you have room for it, but you should invest at least 15% of your income, and if you can, automate it. Just like Robert Kiyosaki says, pay yourself first. If the 15 to 20% you want to invest gets taken out of your account and auto-invested, so you never see them in your account, the rest gets a lot easier. You will learn to live on what you have. Now, step 5. This is the hardest part of it all. Wait for it. Wait. Oh, yes, waiting. It's the hardest thing to do. People think they need to do something all the time, but don't. Let the money work for you. Go on with your life. Do whatever you need to do, whatever you want to have fun, and when you decide to retire, the money will be there for you. But at some point, you will need to look into how you can move to investment vehicles that can sustain your retirement even during a recession. But that's another video. I actually made a video on that called How to Retire. Maybe you can look that afterwards. So, when you have made this foundation, now maybe it's time to move into the big leagues. This will require risks and taking chances, but the payoffs can be great. Now, there is some debate if this is the right way. If you ask Dave Ramsey, he will say it's not a good idea to take on debt, even though he also started that way. Most people don't have the stomach to use debt, and especially like Robert Kiyosaki. He is the poster boy for this. He has perfected the money game, or should I say the debt game. A funny thing is, we can probably all see that he's right. We just don't really see how we can do it the same way he does. But trust me, start off small and the rest will come and you will learn along the way. I will admit, his approach requires a lot more risk and sacrifice, but the payout is also a lot higher. I can only encourage you to look into his videos and how to use debt, and if you have the stomach for it, try it out, maybe with a small apartment at first, and learn along the way how this infinite money glitch really works. Use debt to your advantage. Let's see a little clip of what Robert says.
Go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, and invest in a pension, and you never get your money back. The whole thing was designed to keep you poor. I'm constantly thinking about how do I make money? How do I serve more people? How do I create new businesses, make more money, and pay less taxes and serve more people? Well, everything is the opposite of what they're teaching you in school. Understand that money is debt. And until you get out of debt, they're telling you to get out of money. In 1971, the US dollar became debt. I use debt as money. And everybody thinks getting in debt is bad. Well, who told you that? We don't pay taxes. That's the question. How is it we do that? You want to be an employee, you choose to be an employee. You want to be an entrepreneur, you choose to be an entrepreneur, but you've got to study. They're two different people. The trouble is our school system trains us to be employees. Go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, pay your taxes, get out of debt, and invest in the stock market. Do you know why they tell you to save money?
I don't know.
Because the system of banking, it's nothing to do with communism or capitalism. It's the banks run the world. The rich run the world. They don't care if you're communist or capitalist. So when you save, so let's say you save $1 US or €1, 1 yen, the banking system can lend out 10. So the entire system is called the fractional reserve system. The fractional reserve system is also printing money. And then they tell you to save money. So they want you to save money so they can lend out your money 10 times. So your dollar became worthless 10 times over. The banks are getting richer and richer and richer. Then they tax you on that interest they pay you. Now, if I borrow money, guess what? Do I pay taxes on debt?
I guess no.
Why is that? Why is debt tax-free?
I don't know.
Because that's how money is created. And so the banks love it. They love people who borrow lots of money. So how do I get rich? I borrow money and I buy assets with it. The poor person borrows money and buys liabilities like purses, cars, houses, and they get poorer and poorer and poorer. But I use debt. I borrowed $300 million after the crash, dollars. In 2000, by 2010, I had borrowed $300 million to buy real estate. That made me rich. So the question is, how do you learn to use debt to get rich?
One thing we can all agree on is that taxes are not fun. It's a bad way to lose your investment, so think a lot on how can you avoid taxes on your investments. Again, just like Robert Kiyosaki, that's a whole other video. Robert Kiyosaki is a good inspiration because this is where the big boys play. They don't pay taxes, they have learned to use debt and taxes to their advantage. As Henry Ford used to say, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Anyone can build wealth, even you. With patience, focus, intensity, and hard work, you can become a millionaire. It all starts with you, the person in the mirror. But you need to believe that you can. I hope you got some value from this. Please hit the like button so others can get the same. And I'll end with my mantra, invest in you. The more you learn, the more you earn. Bye.
I have a dream, that's all I need. I'll make it happen with some work and belief. Know what I want, so I'll take it on. I've made mistakes, but mistakes make you strong. Let's break it down for a minute. I want the crown, I'm gon' get it. You hear me loud, man, I'm winning. Yeah, Charlie Sheen will be grinning. These ladies know that I'm sinning, and this is just the beginning. I'm closing in the ninth inning. There ain't no point in resisting.